My eldest sister Ruth, she lived here and went to school by train, and I still don't know how they did that because the train at that time only came down to Muskrat area. In fact, that was the turnaround station, and she went to Roxbury High School and Chester School when it was on Grove Street. Uh, my sister Dorothy, when she went to grade school here, and then when she went to high school, she was artistically advanced and whatnot. So she went and lived with my grandmother, and went to the Newark School for Arts and whatnot. And she done after she graduated, she became an artist for advertising for Bambergers. Interesting story there with her. She worked there, and they gave her a raise, and she got the raise, and she discovered that her paycheck was like 20 cents less than she had been making before. And she went into the office and she said, I don't understand this. You gave me a raise, but I'm getting less money. Well, they said, well, you're now in another bracket. And you're at the beginning. And she said, well, then you got to raise my bracket or put me back where I was, because I can't take a less pay. I'm not making that much money to start with. And so they resolved it, and I never did figure out which way they resolved it, whether they printed her up or whether they took her back. I think it was up because she was very good and whatnot. But and my sister Mary, she grew up in Chester, went to Roxbury High School, and she, for a time, for quite a few years in fact, was a postal worker for the Chester Post Office. And then they, and she said, biggest mistake of my life, they said to her, well, you know, you've been a worker for a long time. There's an opening for the postmaster job. Do you want to be the postmaster? And she foolishly said, yes. Well, what they forgot to tell her, that when she was a clerk, that she got paid by the hour, and and she collected overtime and different things. When she became the postmaster, she got a salary, and that included anything she had to do with the post office, whether it was on her time or somebody else's time. And she did that for quite a few years, and she finally, when she got to the age where she could retire, she says, I'm out, and she retired and whatnot. But she lived a good life here, her and her husband. Her husband worked at the trades and different things.
Did she meet her husband here?
But
Did she meet her husband in Chester?
yes, yes. And they got married, and he worked actually he worked in Hercules Powder Company when it blew up.
And what was his name?
Roy. Roy was her husband's name.
And his last name?
Apcar.
Oh, he was Roy Apgar. Okay.
Right. Yeah. So he lived there, and of course, when Hercules blew up, we were scared to death because we knew he was at work, and he came home and they said, no, I got out. But they went back the next day, and they found 2 or 3 guys that had died. In fact, one I remember him talking about that he was sitting against a tree, and they went over to touch him, and he fell over, and he had died. And they figured he had died of a heart attack or something because from the explosion, because it did do a lot of damage. In fact, it was just in the paper. I think they're trying to figure out a way to renovate or do something with the land over there, because of course they tested all kinds of explosives and whatnot, and make it so that they can reuse a lot of that land, which has been vacant for years and years and years now. But okay, go back to my family. Then after Mary, we got Jessie, who was graduated from Roxbury High School as I was, and she married a man she worked during the war at Picatinny, and she met her husband Carmen DiMuccio, and they got married, and they lived in Necon for many years. He just passed away at the age of 92, and she's still alive in the nursing home over in Mount Arlington, and doing very well for that age, because she's 87 and whatnot, soon to be 88. But then let's see, then I gotta remember who go down. So then I guess that puts, after Jesse was me, and I grew up here and went to Roxbury High School. And upon graduation, I became, during high school years, I used to work for my uncle in the, after school and on Saturdays in the grocery store and did that and whatnot. And
What was your uncle's name?
Paul Sutton, at Sutton's Meat Market on Main Street.
So the Suttons were from your mother's side, or?
Mother, from my mother's side, yes. And the store used to be in the middle of town, was Sutton's store on the right-hand side. Saslow's store was on the left side. They adjoined it. And they were friendly enemies. They didn't try to kill each other or anything, but one would have this on sale one week and the other would have it on sale the next week because people came back. And just an aside from that, when I worked there, after we were quite a few years of working there, we used to be open on Saturday night until 9 o'clock. And you know, my uncle finally said, you know, I've been calculating, and we have the same customers every week at 9 o'clock or quarter of. I'm going to close at 8 o'clock, and we'll see if it works okay. Because he said, I don't really think we're making that much money according to what I've been keeping to make it worthwhile to stay open that extra hour. So we closed at 8 o'clock. And lo and behold, the people that came in at 9 o'clock came in at 8 o'clock. And this went on for quite a period of time. And then my uncle said, you know, we've got the same situation. I think we're going to close at 7 o'clock. And so we closed at 7 o'clock. And the same thing happened. The same people that couldn't make it until 9 made it at 7. And when I left, they were still open at night, 7 o'clock on a Saturday night. But